6:39. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Shall we take a look at today's front pages with you? 91,000 civil service jobs will be axed as Boris Johnson has ordered ministers to slash the size of the state. The story is in the Mail and it says job numbers will apparently return to 2016 levels and almost 1 in 5 are going to lose their jobs.
Defined Foreign Secretary Liz Truss says we'll rip up border deal. The Express says Ms Truss told the EU she may have no choice because border checks between Britain and Northern Ireland were endangering the peace.
Front page of The Sun, she's Dame Debs. Sunwriter Deborah James has been honoured with a damehood after her heart-wrenchingly honest account of having bowel cancer. Apparently she's raised £3.6 million since Monday when she revealed she was now on end-of-life care.
Keep your hair on, says the Star. The paper says the world's gone mad as a tribunal decided that calling a man baldy is sexual harassment.
I mean, it's unkind, but I don't know whether it's harassment, is it? Maybe it is.
Sexual harassment, though.
Well, it's based on gender. I suppose you wouldn't call a woman baldy, would you, even if she was?
No.
Well, it would just be rude to call anyone baldy, frankly.
All right, baldy. I don't know, I just did a bit of people just laugh it off.
If you're so... No, it's not sartorially challenged, is it? What is it when you're...
I can't remember now. It's on the tip of my tongue.
It's not sartorial, that's follically challenged.
That'll do.
Could be. If you are follically challenged...
If you're a baldy...
No, you see, you mustn't. Do you object to being called baldy? I would, if I was.
It always used to be slaphead, didn't it?
Oh, that's awful. That's worse, isn't
Is it? Well, we all just laugh about it. I had my hair rearranged because I was going a bit baldy.
Rearranged?
So I had a bit taken out the back and shoved on the top.
Yes, you did, didn't you? And it looks very good.
No, fabulous.
No, you can't see the stitches.
If you're on the radio, you're missing a treat. You're missing a treat.
Shall we go through the papers now?
Yeah, joining us this morning, anthropologist Marianne Hotter and editor of Spiked Online, Tom Slater.
Morning.
You two.
Good morning.
Let's talk about these 91,000 civil service jobs that are for the chop, Marianne.
This is a strange one because there is a world where 91,000 people potentially losing their jobs is a terrible story that we're all up in arms about, and yet the Mail is running this as a kind of like a gleeful hand-wringing, that'll, stick two fingers up at all those jobs worth people who take all our money. And you kind of think, these are real people, you know.
That's what we forget.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that means 91,000 people are going to be told.
They're waking up this morning and around their breakfast tables, they're going, oh, hang on a minute, because let's also not forget that those people aren't all earning 200 grand a year and going on 5 different exotic holidays. Quite a few people are working hard for the money that they earn at just a kind of pretty average salary and going, the cost of living crisis is hitting them as well, and now they're worried about losing their jobs.
But it's how you need to... I mean, this is not a story that people are viewing as an individual story. It's a story that we're looking at through the light of the government is reducing the size of the state, which, let's be honest, probably needs to be done. So it's how you view it.
The question is, does it need to be done? Because it's sort of become this kind of political weaponising that your interviewee earlier, who was sort of, on the side of Jacob Rees-Mogg, who a few weeks ago had, gone round this empty office and written snide little messages to people saying, I hope you'll be coming to work soon, more. And I just think it's a strange world that we live in where it's become so polarised that we can't actually hold the idea in our minds that you can work from home and genuinely be doing proper, good, important work and do your job well. Of course, there are certain jobs where you need to be in the same space as someone, you need to be logged on to that secure internet infrastructure or whatever it is. Tom and I were discussing earlier, no, of course, it's not appropriate that when you're trying to deal with the crisis of the Afghanistan botched withdrawal, you don't want a senior official to be dialing it in from holiday. You don't want the government minister to be going, I'll just deal with it in between going to the pool and going to the beach.
Some people deal with working from home very well. We've got to be honest. I think most of us use it as a bit of a dodge.
No, I don't.
Dodge. But you might not.
But you work in a broadcast live TV environment, and you're very good at your job. So it perhaps suggests that you have found a job that suits your skill set.
Yeah, but if I had an officey type job and was working from home, I'd be skiving.
Well,
I mean, I'll be honest, I would be skiving.
But I think that's just really unfair, because for some people, it's actually a really fantastic way of being very efficient and getting your job done and not wasting that time of going into an office for no reason, when you go, actually, that gives me half an hour to take my kids to school, half an hour to be a little bit more healthy, half an hour to think about the work that I do.
If it's grown too fat and there are 91,000 people who are unnecessarily employed and paid, then surely it makes sense to get rid of
Well, that's the question.
Jobs, doesn't it?
Are they unnecessary, or has Jacob Rees-Mogg just decided because he wants something to deflect from the fact that the government is in disarray, the fact that Northern Ireland is imploding, which is a really serious issue, and actually he's just like, throw the little hand grenade in, everyone can get up in arms about a bunch of civil servants. They just, it's an easy target.
It's clearly an issue because the fact that the size of the state is swollen during COVID as well, and that's something which you have to ask yourself. Generally speaking, I'm quite relaxed about the size of the state, depending on how efficient it's being and how much it's actually getting in people's way, rather than actually delivering those services and all the rest of it. But it's quite clear at the moment, you talk about the chaos with the passports, all these different areas, from like the high offices of the civil service in the state down to the kind of more local, simple kind of bread and butter delivery level. Things really aren't working. So I don't think we should be against the shake-up in and of itself. But as we were talking about at the beginning, this is people's jobs at the end of the day, which is something that we've always got to have.
I just sort of think, and I'm not trying to clump everyone into one group particularly, but I sort of think it's the people who are going to say, why cut down on this? Why stop working from home and all the rest of it? Are probably the same people who are saying we need to invest more money in the high streets. We need to keep the high street. The very places that are going to be suffering because people are working from home. We can't have it all.
But I think that's it. I mean, yes, we should have thriving town centres, because we should have places where communities physically come together. There's nothing...
have a reason to come together for, which has only been at work.
But it might not be working in an office. It might be an opportunity for you to go and do something with that small amount of free time that you might have, because you're not commuting there and back to an office unnecessarily. So you could go to the library. You could stop at a local cafe. You can go to, spend your what small amount of disposable income you've got in a local independent shop. Go to the butchers or the bakers with your friends or your family. All that stuff.
Lovely day out.
Yeah, sounds great, right? We should do that.
That's
kind of what you want. Yeah, exactly. That's what you want from your high street, not necessarily a bunch of offices where office drones kind of plod to go, well, why am I here? There's no real reason. I could be doing this from my kitchen table and genuinely be doing my job well. I think the thing with this civil service job thing is we need to separate how should the civil service be efficient and deliver value for money as a taxpayer, and is working from home anything to do with that? And this random 91,000 people losing their jobs thing needs to be separated from assessing whether it's working or not.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a fair point. Tom, to the Express, we touched on Northern Ireland. The Northern Ireland Protocol, it's going to go, isn't it? But I mean, the government's making it quite clear that whatever happens, they're going to just scrap it.
Well, they want the EU to negotiate properly. That's what a lot of this sabre-rattling is about. It's not an empty threat. They want to prioritise, as they see it, the Belfast Agreement and just the integrity of the United Kingdom. Wherever you stand on the Brexit wars, surely everyone realises that it's unacceptable for the EU to carve up UK territory for the sake of trying to keep things on the go. And also, it's quite clear that her opposite number, Maros Sefcovic, she doesn't even have the mandate to negotiate this properly. The British side have put out proposals last summer trying to suggest about ways that, again, more flexibility could be introduced to try and lower the burden of that checks. 20% of all the EU's external customs checks are taking place in relation to Northern Ireland at the moment. It's like 0.5% of the EU population in terms of customs territory. This is obviously not working. And whilst I think it's easy for people to caricature the government as kind of sabre-rattling over this, just trying to get the vote leave bandwagon back on the road when they're struggling, I think they're serious about this because it's a fundamental issue of sovereignty, which has been left as a kind of open wound in the Brexit negotiations. Yes, that was a deal that they signed, but they signed it under very difficult circumstances. We all know that's the truth.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally, it was kind of baked into the issue of Brexit, though, wasn't it? I mean, there was never going to be an easy way to say we're going to draw a line, but we don't want to draw a line down the Irish Sea and leave Northern Ireland on the wrong side, as it were. But neither do we want a hard border in the land of Ireland. And you go, oh, OK, well, what are you going to do then? And we had that conversation back in 2016, and no one came up with a good answer because there is no good answer.
It should have been talked about in parallel. This was Theresa May's great mistake. She allowed the EU to set up this ratchet which say, we want you to settle the border question before we talk about the trade deal. Whereas the trade deal is how you settle the border question, and what arrangements are going to be in place. And a lot of things have been set in train since that. I think the idea that we can do no better than this is just ridiculous. It's a sorry state of affairs, but we need to do something about it, of course.
OK. Well, look, we're out of time. But it's been a good old chinwag over two big issues.
Those are the two big stories.
They are.
Yeah, they're meaty and they're less fun than Wagatha Christie, but they are more important.
I totally agree. Look, Mary Ann, Tom, thank you. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on.
Absolutely.